Okay, so this is Siloh Moses here at the USA CBD show. I am sitting down and interviewing Ethan Zohn, winner of Survivor Africa, infamous soccer player, and now part of Mount Kush CBD brand. So, Ethan, we're sitting here and we're talking about how you survived cancer twice and how you were able to spot that you had it in the first place. So let's kind of recap where we were at. So you found out you had cancer. You had this itchiness going on that you couldn't figure out where it was coming from, okay? And you then found a lymph node in your left collarbone, and you found another one, a mass that was inside your chest. So what were the next steps that you took after that?
Yeah, so the next step, this was a 4-month process, so I knew something was going on inside my body, and I just didn't know what it was. I was actually relieved when they told me I had cancer, because the only way to get rid of the itch was chemotherapy. And I'm all right, great. So basically, yeah, chemotherapy, radiation, and then I had an autologous stem cell transplant, and which was great. Got the disease into remission for a while. I returned 20 months later, had to do it all over again, chemo, radiation, and then as a patient, it's really hard to articulate what it feels like to be seriously ill. Like, it pays to have a positive outlook, but when all your doctors try multiple ways of healing you that don't work, you panic, you freak out. Like, I craved survival, and I was running out of options. I was pissed off, I was scared, I didn't want to die. And this is kind of when, lucky for me, a new smart targeted therapy emerged on the market and was available for a select group of people in my exact situation. So this drug was only available for someone who's failed an autologous stem cell transplant, needed to get the disease into remission so they could go on to get a second stem cell transplant. So I went on to get my second stem cell transplant. This time I used my brother Lee as the donor. And so that was another whole thing. But now I'm 7 years in remission from that second stem cell transplant.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what were the doctors prescribing after the first?
So this is where my connection to cannabis and CBD comes in. When I was sick, I as a professional soccer player, high-level athlete my whole life, I never touched the stuff. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do anything. However, once my playing career started going, I obviously recreationally tried cannabis, and it was fun, it was awesome. So then when I was sick, I realized I knew the benefits of cannabis. However, my doctors wouldn't prescribe it. I lived in New York City. So I was literally mask, gloves, bald from chemo, going to the streets, meeting with a cannabis dealer, not knowing where it came from, the pesticides, all that stuff. That was my way I would access my drugs. And I was prescribed Zofran for nausea, Ativan for anxiety and sleep, Ambien for sleep, Percocet for pain, Wellbutrin for my mood disorders. And then I'd have to pop a fucking Adderall in the morning to get up, all prescribed, and I just was living this synthetic lifestyle that just did. Or I could go get a pot brownie, and all of a sudden, I'm not nauseous, I'm much more fun to be around, I'm not an asshole to my girlfriend and mom anymore, I can eat a little bit, I can sleep better, I'm happy. So, and it's from the earth, nature is the world's pharmacy. And I was just consuming all these pills, didn't love it. And I was scared of addiction, to be honest. Reading all the reports of opioids, I was hooked up to a pain pump for months. So in the hospital when I was in the bubble, so didn't love that style of life. And as I was recovering, I also say to people, going through cancer is easy. When a doctor tells you to do something or you'll die, you pretty much do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's after cancer that for me was the most difficult part of this entire thing. As a young adult, 35 years old, I got my whole life in front of me, and now I'm sterile, I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a great job, who's gonna marry me, am I gonna have kids, what's my life gonna be like? And I just got in this hamster wheel of destructive thoughts, and that's when I got connected with CBD, and I started taking CBD every day like a multivitamin, and it just really, I don't know, it allowed me to just kind of take a deep breath. It erased some of the anxiety I was feeling on a daily basis of these dump trucks full of uncertainty, these invisible scars that need healing, this fear of death and relapse and dying it just consumed me. So CBD helped, and when I needed something really a little stronger, I'd go with a 1-to-1 tincture.
Okay.
And then that was kind of how I started living my life. I moved out of New York City, got married, moved to the middle of the woods in New Hampshire, started to live a more healthy, natural lifestyle. You know, we have a garden, I live on a lake, we drill a well, we heat our house with wood, and it gets us back to that whole connecting with nature. For me was a healing process after cancer, and for my wife as well. And so that's kind of just been our lifestyle. And then I met Anthony Sullivan and Dave Christian in the middle of the jungles of Fiji on this crazy, stupid adventure race called Eco Challenge. So I had won Survivor in 2001. I went to compete on this Eco Challenge show, which is a similar vibe. Teams of 4 travel around the jungles with a map and a compass. You got to get from point A to point B in 10 days, but it's biking, rock climbing, kayaking, you're building crafts of rafts with bamboo. You're not eating, you're not sleeping. It's a race.
Wow.
So I met those guys because we were competing for last place. We both were horrible disasters of a team.
Right.
And so we met like commiserating in last place. This fucking sucks. We're never gonna win. We're gonna die out here. So I met those guys then, and we remained great, close friends. And when Dave called me and said, "Hey, we just bought a farm in Vermont," I'm like, "I'm in, dude." Like, not only I get to hang out with my buddies, but coming from a medical side of this, where I was so concerned with what I'm actually putting inside my body, similar to Sully's story with his daughter. Like, I wanted to go up there, I wanted to live on the farm, I wanted to plant the seed, I wanted to get my hands dirty, I wanted to harvest it, process it, watch it go into the bottle, squeeze it with the Sasquatch, because that's what's going inside here. And if I have the efficacy, if I have the knowledge of how that's done and the efficacy of how it's processed, then I'm okay to put my name behind it. So Survivor season 40 is on right now. Like, I'm got a brief moment in time. 20 years after I won, I'm back again playing for $2 million, and it's an incredible opportunity for me to educate the world about CBD.
Yeah.
The same thing I did with cancer. I've made my story public. The details of my life can help someone else out there. I went public with that itch. And ever since I went public and did like magazines, TVs, podcasts, blogs like this, 22 people have reached out to me and said, because I heard you here or saw you on this, I had itchy skin, I went to the doctor too, and I was diagnosed earlier.
Wow.
So like playing some role in helping others get diagnosed earlier, helping them manage their cancer care, made it worthwhile for me to talk about my story. And that's why this Sully and me and whoever else is in this business, like in that TV show that's coming out, it's a giant education on what it takes to farm this incredible plant that's healing millions of people. And so for me, that's part of it. You know?
So let's back up for a second.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
I
okay.
fucking talk forever there. I'm passionate about it.
Yeah, no, and I can hear it for sure. Let's talk about first point here being, when you went and bought that first bag,
Yeah.
right? We'll call it a bag.
Yeah.
Right? How did you deal with the stigma that came with, oh, I'm buying this from a guy I don't know down a back alley in the city streets? Like, let's talk about where you at mentally first to go, I'm going to go do it, I don't care what the risks are. And then the stigmas that came with after purchasing that first bag.
I mean, yeah, you nailed it right there. Like, here I am sick, potentially on my way to dying, and I have all the anxiety and fears that come along with just trying to live with cancer. Now all of a sudden I had to do an illegal activity by calling up a fucking drug dealer who sold coke and ecstasy and everything and weed, and going to a street, getting in the back of his cab, driving around the city, buying a bag in a mask and gloves. I'm telling you, like, it felt horrible. Like, I was doing something dirty and illegal and naughty to help heal myself, because I didn't want to take the pills that were prescribed to me from a doctor.
Someone in a lab coat.
But don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Listen, I would not be alive today without medical research, chemotherapy, radiation, pharmaceuticals.
Of course, yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, of course.
Cannabis didn't heal me. CBD didn't heal me of cancer. The synthetic chemotherapies did. But it helped mitigate the side effects of treatment and the anxiety, and for that I'm like forever grateful. But it's just it increased the stress. I didn't know the toxic levels of where that weed came from. It could be laced, it could have mold, and here I am sick, and they didn't want me to smoke it or vape it,
Right.
or vape it, vaporize it. So I made food items out of it,
brownies and stuff.
brownies to eat it, and so it's just it was a really a stupid step of the process that didn't have to be there, that I was forced to go through in the middle of my nightmare. It just made things worse.
At one point in your mind were you like, I'm done with pills, that's it?
When I accidentally took 5 Ativans instead of folic acid and was off my rocker, because they were both small.
Yeah.
And they looked the same, and I was supposed to meet my girlfriend at the time and to go buy her father's shoes, and I took 5 Ativans thinking they were folic acid, and literally I was like, I don't remember it because I was looked like a homeless person on the street, my eyes were all messed up, I was belligerent, I was angry, and I'm like, Jesus, like, that could have killed me.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to like relax a little bit because I didn't want to throw up in the car and like stress out with the anxiety of being in public. So like, that's when I realized I gotta get away from this stuff.
And another pivoting point to me would be, how did you go from marijuana to CBD?
For me, it was a natural, because for a while the I guess I was getting a little bit more not panic, but just
Anxiety.
feeling edgy with just the THC. So then I went to a 1-to-1 CBD to THC, and that felt really good for me. And then from that, I just went to CBD. Because I felt like if I kind of take this every day like a multivitamin, literally that's what I do. I'm like, I might as well try it, like see what happens, right?
Yeah,
I like the plant, I believe in it, and all the terpenes and the whatever entourage effect, whatever they talk about. And that just kind of helped me. It was like a base level of lower anxiety. I wasn't like thinking all the time of the stuff that I didn't want to think about. It just kind of enabled me it opened up my life. More
Gotcha.
balanced way to live on a daily
Gotcha.
basis. Yeah.
So the CBD gave you what you were looking for without the side effects of THC from cannabis. Is that safe to say?
That is safe to say on the
Okay.
record. Yeah. I still do participate in I don't really smoke it, but I will do tinctures, THC tinctures, usually 1-to-1, just because. So there are times I do use the THC.
Right, yeah, gotcha. Okay, so moving forward, so now you've connected with Sully.
Yep.
Going through this incredible adventure,
Yep.
right? Where you're fighting for last place.
Yeah.
And the two of you link up and he says, hey, I'm gonna start this farm. I just bought 75,000 seeds.
Yeah.
And what was that conversation like? Was he like, come up here and farm with us? Was he like, I need you to put in some wrist, some elbow grease, whatever that looks like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above. So I was going down this path on my own. Okay, I want to make something that's available for people like me going through anxiety, cancer survivors. So I was in my mind, I was going down that route, making a name and trying to find a distributor. Maybe I'm white labeling it, I don't know. And that's when Sully came in, so it was perfect timing for me. We just talked about it, and then he's like, we're raising money, we need all hands on deck, we're bootstrapping this thing, and so I like that shit.
Nice.
I'll move up to a farm, and that's beautiful up there, great environment, and I had nothing going on. I just I knew I was going on Survivor. They didn't know, so I'm like, I'm gonna be leaving this farm for about 6 weeks, but I'll be back in the end of July, August for harvest.
Right.
Like, okay, dude, we'll see you then. But I came back, I was like emaciated. So then I moved up there, but I'm not like full time and everything. But I definitely was, tried to help out as much as I can.
So now, when it comes to you in Mount Kush. Mount Kush.
Yep.
So, are you an advocate for the brand? Are you part of the brand? Are you a partner in the brand? What does that look like?
So what it looks like now is I'm an investor, and they're going to be developing a line of tinctures under the Mount Kush brand that would be inspired by Ethan,
Gotcha.
so that I can help
nice.
market that and
very
bring
nice.
that to shelf space or wherever around the country. I don't know if it's going to happen in phase 1, but that's the goal for me, is to work with these guys. Their product's extremely awesome. I am biased, but I've been up there. I've tasted everything.
Yeah.
And it makes me. This makes
And
me
you've
feel
actually grown the plants. You've done everything from
yeah,
literally seed
that was
to bottle.
important for me. Important for me. And the solvent-free, no chemical ways they process it was a game changer. and I'm not against isolates or any of that stuff, but this guy's full plant. You know, it's literally what he said. It's a fingerprint of the genetics of the plant. They squeeze it, 2,000 pounds of pressure, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. All that goop that drips out, that's what you put in your body, mixed with a little like coconut oil.
So last but not least, I don't want to keep you forever because we're already at 15 minutes. So what's next for Ethan? And what's next for Mount Kush? Or Mont Kush.
Mont Kush.
Sorry, Mont Kush.
Mont Kush, right now, I think they're ironing out, just, you know, getting their final packaging together, finishing up the television show, getting this stuff ready to be sold. And I'm going to be part of that, you know, whatever that looks like. For me, what's going on now, it's Survivor. I mean, literally every Wednesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. on CBS. Check it out.
Nice.
So that will be ending in May. And hopefully when that's done, I could just kind of start working with these guys more full-time.
More full-time?
Yep.
Awesome.
Last thing I would like to tell, so part of my world, so the money I won from Survivor, $1 million, I used to start a charity called Grassroots Soccer.
Nice.
So we're an adolescent health organization that uses the power of soccer to educate, inspire, and mobilize communities to make healthier choices in life. We are in 50 countries. We graduated 2.3 million kids from the program. So that's like my real life. That's like what I do in my real time. Something we're incredibly proud of. But now we're taking everything we learned from grassroots soccer in the 18 years we've been around, and we're applying that to the cannabis industry. So I created Safe Roots Foundation, and what we do is we believe cannabis and CBD is good for public health. But we also believe if more kids start misusing it, it's bad for the industry, it's bad for the kids. How do we protect the long-term sustainability of this new industry? We need to make sure more kids don't use weed. So we raise money from the cannabis industry, and then we fund the best evidence-based teenage drug prevention programs around the country. And then we also created an after-school sport coach curriculum where we can arm these coaches, hockey, soccer, lacrosse, basketball, swimming, gymnastics, anything, with the tools to be able to deliver the correct messaging to adolescents about drugs and drug misuse and cannabis, and also help identify kids who may be misusing. Because a lot of these kids, they come from maybe families of broken homes, their parents aren't having these conversations, the coaches are their role models, they are their heroes, they're the leaders, the people in the community they trust, they see on a daily basis sometimes. So if we can arm them with the tools to help educate them, it's all about education.
Right.
Not only is it the message, it's the messenger. So I started that, so hopefully a portion of the sales of my product are going to go back to charity. That's a big point, that's a part of my philosophy in this business.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, that's us wrapping up our interview with Ethan. I want to say thank you, all-around good guy, and thank you for your time, and we appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.